Greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Tuesday, what is it? The 18th, the 18th of July today. And we're leaving Mount of Olives, 3 days there. We're headed out to Mount Tabor in the Jezreel Valley, a valley with a lot of history, a lot of history. They reference reading two chapters in the book of Judges, Judges chapter 4 and 5. They quote from verse 14 of chapter 4. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera," that's the opposing general, "Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" That's true for us too. We need that assurance, though. I think, just like evidently Barak did, the Israelite general. I enjoy driving through the Jezreel Valley beneath the dome of Mount Tabor. This rural, serene landscape lends a sense of calm to the busiest of days. But this setting was anything but calm at the time of Deborah, one of the judges of Israel, yes, a female, and Barak. Imagine the plain filled with invaders from the Canaanite city of Hatzor. Imagine row after row of ironclad chariots, 900 of them, technology for which ancient Israel had no answer. This disturbing scene was fostered by a larger problem in Israel. They had lost faith in the Lord and contaminated the promised land with their worship of other gods. To call them to account, the Lord had allowed Hatzor to dominate Israel for 20 years. The Lord allowed that. Did you catch that? The prophet Deborah summoned Israel's general Barak to initiate a solution. She instructed him to muster the tribal militias on Mount Tabor. If there was to be a fight, this is where the Israelite infantry wanted to have it. The wooded slopes of Mount Tabor rise abruptly from the valley floor, precluding the use of chariots. Barak's plan was to lure the enemy into abandoning their chariots on the plain for a fight on the mountain slopes. Here, Israel's infantry was better matched against the invaders, plus they had already gained the high ground. The invaders would have to fight uphill. All in all, this was the best Israel could have hoped for. The Lord was about to ask something quite unexpected. Deborah called for Barak to leave the high ground and charge the chariots on the plain. This made no sense. Pitting foot soldiers against a chariot corps was a suicide mission. But more than that, it was a call to trust in the Lord. At this critical moment, Israel stepped out in faith, and the Lord stepped up in power. I love that line. Oh boy, when we step out in faith, the Lord steps up in power. The narrative account simply states that the Canaanites were routed, Judges 4:15. But Deborah's poetic account in chapter 5 describes how God did it. It's true that chariots on dry ground would have had the advantage over infantry troops, but the ground didn't stay dry for long. The Lord sent an off-season, catch that, an off-season thunderstorm, so violent and intense that it swamped the valley floor. And that's in chapter 5, verse 4 and verse 21. The chariots bogged down in the mud, becoming easy targets for Israel's infantry. Faith carried Israel from the safe slopes of Tabor to the threatening plain where the Lord gave them victory. Today's no different. Common sense leads us to make safe choices. But be ready. The Lord may call you to do something that defies common sense. Know that when He does, the Lord has gone ahead of you. And we read that as the opening verse to this, Judges 4:14. What a great Devo today. This will preach, man. This is good stuff. This is us thinking that we can fight the battle that we're all in, the spiritual battle that we're all in, from a safe place. I don't know where we got that idea, other than we live, especially us here in this country, live in a culture where that's the expected way to live, comfortably. No problems. The nest feathered lined for us, our safety net underneath us, all of those kinds of things. We just expect it. We assume that's our right. But you cannot read the Bible at all and find that that's how God uses His people. He wants us to go into difficult places, make difficult choices, with the goal that the positive outcome is God did it. God did it. He gets the glory. That's why He whittled Gideon's army from, 25,000 down to 300. So that when the victory was won, He would get the glory. We need to be very, very careful when something positive happens. Who gets the glory? I know a person who likes to boast about things she has done. And not once in that boasting is God given any credit. That kind of quote unquote testimony loses credibility with me. Israel had made big mistakes, as we read earlier in our devotion, in turning away from the Lord. They lost faith in the Lord, he says, and contaminated the promised land with their worship of other gods. We may not consider that we're worshiping other gods, but if our God, the one true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is not the one getting the praise and the glory for the things that have happened, then I guess we're giving them to another God. Maybe ourselves, maybe luck. I hear that so often. We've got to make sure that we're recognizing the hand of God in our lives and through our lives, and that we are listening for the voice of God. 2 questions. What is your Mount Tabor? The safe zone for which you prefer to operate. We all have them. We all have them. Our little comfort zones that we don't want to have to leave. If it can be handled from my comfort zone, I'll handle it. If it causes me to get out of my comfort zone, sorry, I really can't. I'm not available. Second question, when has the Lord called you to abandon the mountain for the plain, summoning you to trust beyond the bounds of common sense? Abraham, Moses, the disciples, prophets in the Old Testament as well. Jesus. Hopefully we've all been there sometime in our life, at least once, where we've made a huge decision that others didn't think made any sense, but we knew God had called us to it, and we trusted Him in it. It's a great faith-growing experience when we're willing to leave our safety zone, our comfort zone behind us, and simply travel out in faith, instead of wanting to make sure all of our T's are crossed and our I's dotted before we'll take the next step. That's not faith. Here's the prayer for today. Heavenly Father, when I am confronted by circumstances that loom like 900 ironclad chariots, strengthen my faith. Give me the trust I need to do the unthinkable, knowing that you can do the impossible. Help me to do the trust I need to do the unthinkable, knowing that you can do the impossible. A lot of good lines in this one today. Blessing to you today on this Tuesday.